So for current ThreatX customers, you're familiar with API Defender. The API Catalog is the new version that we're really excited to roll out in coming weeks to months. And this is what the API Catalog looks like. It's a totally revamped user interface that intuitively breaks down a lot of the different metrics that ThreatX tracks across our customer base. So, for example, you can log in as a security analyst and understand the number of sites that are protected, the total number of endpoints that we're seeing, and the total number of rule matches over the time base. From there, what we'll do is break down all of the top attack classifications. In this example, we see SQL injection, we see programmatic access to our sites, we see other scanning activity or high error rates. All that may indicate we may be under some sort of attack or there may be nefarious activity going on. In addition, our profiler will break down the different types of APIs that are being protected behind our sensors, for example, to show, hey, we've got one GraphQL API, we've got a RESTful JSON API, we've got a URL encoded API, to really help paint the big picture of all the different APIs that we're protecting. From there, what we'll do is break down the different sites that are set up behind the ThreatX sensors today. In this case, we've got 3 simple examples in our lab environment, and you can see each one has a unique profile. This one being a JSON, this one's URL encoded, this one's GraphQL. And then over on the right-hand side, we'll break down some of the attack metrics that are associated here, including the number of endpoints that we're detecting and protecting, the number of threats that are going after each specific site, in addition to the rule matches and overall response code trends that we see. So if we're to drill into a specific site, this takes us down a level deeper into the context of the specific site here. So in this example, we're protecting an API that we have stood up, and we can see, again, in that familiar pattern, the overall aggregation metrics of what we've observed in the specific time range. So within the last month, we've observed 13,000 unique threats, 42,000 rule matches. We've blocked just short of 6,000 requests, and we've observed about 720,000 requests. From there, we break down, again, all those attack classifications that we've seen across this specific API and illustrate a graph over time showing not only the rule matches, but the blocked requests. This helps tell the big picture story to understand when there are surges or spikes in blocks in traffic that may be coming in to trigger not only rule matches, but represent ultimately nefarious behavior. Now, if I scroll down further down the page, we expose that similar table data, but instead of sites this time, we're looking at the specific endpoints. So up above, we've seen all the aggregation metrics at the high level, but as a security analyst, if I need to go down deeper to the next level to understand what's happening across specific endpoints, this is the view that will help us go there. Now within the table, we can see the very similar data that we showed on the prior page, showing the profile of these particular API endpoints, the types of exploitations that may be coming in terms of attack class, the number of specific threats that are going after the endpoints, rule matches, blocked requests, and total requests. So for example, I can sort really quickly and easily and see that there are a ton of threats going after the authentication endpoint versus the get transfers endpoint. In this example, it helps a security analyst really prioritize and understand which are the most targeted endpoints that may need due diligence or further investigation. So in this example, we'll take a look at this endpoint and drill down a level deeper. And we go down to the specific endpoint level details. Now, what this allows us to do in this new view is easily pivot between all of the different endpoints that we're protecting within this API in this new card-based view on the left that allows me to easily pivot and slice and dice data views to understand metrics across different endpoints. Now, if we go back to this authenticate endpoint, you're going to see that familiar aggregation view where we roll up the data to make it quick and easy to understand what's happening. But in addition, we will break down the specific threats that we see going after this specific endpoint. So in this case, we can see all of these unique threats that we have detected going after the authentication endpoint that would allow us to do deeper due diligence on a either specific threat or, for example, another rule that's being detected in high volumes. So ultimately, it provides that big picture view to see what's happening across all of your sites that are being protected by ThreatX, drill down within the context of a site to see that story and those traffic trends, and then go down to the deepest level at the specific endpoint to see the different types of traffic trends, response code breakdowns, and specific threats that may be going after our public interface. So this is a high-level overview of the API catalog. We talked about a lot of the benefits. We've showed off a lot of the features. I do want to leave time for a quick Q&A if there are any questions around this. So Sydney, are there any questions that have come in through the chat so far?
Yeah, one quick question specific to API catalog. Folks are wondering, how could they go and manually block a threat actor if ThreatX isn't already blocking it? And can you speak a little bit more to how ThreatX is automatically blocking attackers as well? Is this required to come in and manually respond in the API catalog?
Great question. Well, one of the things that makes ThreatX so unique is that most WAFs today use a very binary approach. And when I say binary approach, that's either block or no block. Now, that approach can be very cumbersome and burden a security team to have to continually be tuning rules, to be continually refining the criteria of what you're looking for. And ThreatX is different because we use a risk-based approach that is centered on the attacker activity to understand over time the types of behaviors, the types of targets they're going after, and to ultimately make an informed decision in a programmatic way through our analytics and risk engine to make that decision on an automatic basis. Now, when that happens, it can either be an ephemeral block, meaning we'll block for a short specific period, or it can be a permanent block. If we have a high risk score, we can put that IP and permanently blacklist it. Now, to the question, do we have the capability to manually block a threat? Absolutely, we do. Let's go back into that authenticate endpoint and view our specific list of threats. We'll take in abrasive Legrand, for example, and drill down into the threat details, which shows all the activity over time of what they may be going after, and allows us to look at the current status of watched. Now, we can manually override this and say, we want to blacklist this entity so they will no longer be permitted to call that site. There are a number of other options in there you can take as well to take that appropriate security stance. But that's really one of the nice things, that our platform allows manual intervention. There's things that we know we want to block. Otherwise, we will do it on an automated basis based on the attacker's behavior, activity, and other observations that we make over time to do that for you. So really the key there is that security teams don't need to be eyes on glass, constantly tuning and refining. The platform makes an informed and intelligent decision on the block, no block.